Captain Li Bin sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past the main window of the Terran survey ship Harmony. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he kept sipping it anyway. Space was quiet out here in the Rim territories, and quiet meant safe. His crew of 12 had been mapping trade routes for 6 months without seeing so much as a pirate ship. The communication console beeped once, then twice, then it started screaming. "Captain!" Ensign Ko Min jumped up from her station, her face pale. "We're getting a distress signal." It's bad, sir." Li Bin set down his cup and walked over to her station. The signal strength was weak, barely coming through the static. But what he heard made his blood run cold. Under attack. They came out of nowhere. Ships everywhere. The voice was female human, terrified. Slaughtering everyone. The Villani children. They're hiding in the grain silos, but I don't think... Static filled the bridge. Ko Min worked frantically at her controls, trying to clean up the signal. More words came through, broken and... desperate. Won't help us, said it's not their problem. Earth is our only hope. Please, if anyone can hear this. Can you identify the source? Li Bin asked, his voice tight. It's coming from Kepler 442b, sir. That's the agricultural research station. Dr. Park Nari is stationed there with a team of xenobiologists. Li Bin knew Park Nari by reputation. She was one of Earth's best scientists, studying peaceful alien species. Kepler 442b was home to the Villani, a gentle race that grew the finest grain in the galaxy. They had never hurt anyone. The signal crackled again. This time, Park Nari's voice was barely a whisper. They're in the compound now. I can hear them killing. Oh God, they're just children. Someone please anyone. Then silence. Ko Min kept adjusting her equipment, but nothing came through except empty static. Li Bin stood there for a long moment, feeling sick. Somewhere out there, good people were dying, and there was nothing he could do about it. Sir? Ko Min looked up at him. Should I try to raise the Galactic Confederation? Do it! The Confederation was supposed to keep peace in this part of space. They had ships, resources, the authority to stop attacks like this. But Li Bin had a bad feeling as he watched Ko Min send the emergency signal. The reply came back within minutes. The voice was cold, mechanical, speaking perfect galactic standard. Terran Vessel Harmony, this is Confederation Command. We have received your distress relay. The incident on Kepler 442b falls under Section 12 of the Non-Interference Protocol. No action will be taken. Li Bin grabbed the communication handset so hard his knuckles went white. This is Captain Li Bin. People are being murdered out there. The Villani are peaceful farmers. They don't even have weapons. Captain Li, the Confederation does not intervene in conflicts between member species. This is established policy. Member species? Li Bin felt his anger rising. The attackers are member species? The Krulon Empire holds full membership status. Their territorial expansion activities are considered internal affairs. Territorial expansion? They're committing genocide? Captain Li, you are advised to continue your survey mission and avoid the conflict zone. Confederation command out. The line went dead. Li Bin stared at the handset for a moment, then slammed it back into its holder. His bridge crew looked at him with shocked faces. Sir, Lieutenant Beijin spoke up from the navigation station. What are your orders? Li Bin walked back to his command chair, his mind racing. The Harmony was a survey ship, not a warship. They had no weapons except small defensive systems. Even if they went to Kepler 442b, there was nothing they could do against a Krulon attack fleet, but they could do one thing. Ko Min, open a direct channel to Earth Command. Maximum encryption, highest priority, yes sir. Earth Command was 43 light years away. Even with quantum communication, there would be a delay. But Admiral Kimte would want to know about this immediately. The connection established, and Admiral Kimte's weathered face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Captain Li, what's the situation? Li Bin told him everything. about Park Nari's desperate message, about the Krulin attack, about the Confederation's refusal to help. As he spoke, he watched Kim Tae's expression grow darker and darker. When Li Bin finished, Kim Tae was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, Li Bin could see other officers moving around Earth Command's operations center. The mood there was tense. "Captain," Kim Tae finally said, "how long has Kepler 442b been dark?" Teo Min checked her instruments. 72 hours, sir. No signals of any kind since Dr. Park's last transmission. Kim Tae nodded grimly. They're all dead. The Villani, our research team, everyone. The bridge fell silent. Li Bin had suspected as much, but hearing it stated so bluntly made it real. Good people, innocent people, had died while the galaxy's peacekeepers did nothing. "Sir," Li Bin said carefully, "what are your orders?" Kim Tae looked directly into the camera, and Li Bin saw something in the Admiral's eyes that made him straighten. In his chair, it was cold, calculating anger. "Captain Li, you are to return to Earth immediately. Maximum speed." "Sir?" "We're going to war." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Engineer So Min, who had been quietly working at her station, looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, did the Admiral just say we're going to war against the Krulin Empire?" Li Bin nodded slowly. "That's exactly what he said." "But sir," Lieutenant Bei Jin spoke up, "the Krulin Empire has hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships. Earth only has ... "I know what Earth has," Li Bin cut him off. "And apparently so does Admiral Kim Tae." As the Harmony changed course toward Earth, Li Bin thought about Dr. Park Nari's last message. She had called for help, and help was coming. Maybe not for her, but for every other innocent person who might face the same fate. The Krulin Empire had made a mistake. They had attacked humans, and worse, they had made Earth watch helplessly as good people died. Now they were going to learn. Something that the galaxy had never seen before. They were going to learn what happened when you made humanity angry. Admiral Kim Tae stood in the war room deep beneath Earth Command, looking at displays that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Krulin territory, a cancer spreading across the outer rim, consuming peaceful worlds one by one. He had been preparing for this moment for 20 years, ever since humanity first learned what kind of monsters lived among the stars. "General Choi Han, initiate Project Cerberus," Kim Tae said quietly. The general's fingers moved across his control panel. Across Earth, hidden facilities began to wake up. Deep in the Sahara Desert, massive doors slid open in the sand. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, submarine shipyards that had never appeared on any public record began launching vessels that looked nothing like the sleek survey ships most aliens knew about. "Sir," Dr. Yoon Jae said from her position at the science station, "all Cerberus facilities are responding. We'll be ready for deployment in 72 hours. Kim Tae nodded. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. They saw Earth as a minor power with decent technology but no real military strength. They had traded with humans, worked alongside them, even liked them. But they had never seen what humans were really capable of when someone pushed them to. Far dot in orbit around Earth, Warlord Vextar of the Krulon Empire read the intelligence reports with amusement. His flagship, the Devourer, was twice the size of anything humans had ever built. His personal fleet numbered 50 warships, and the Empire had thousands more. "They're mobilizing," he asked his aide, a scarred Krulon warrior named Grixtal. "Yes. Warlord, our spies report unusual activity around their home system. They appear to be preparing some kind of military response." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his command chamber. The walls were decorated with trophies from conquered worlds, works of art, religious artifacts, and the skulls of species that had tried to resist Krulon expansion. "Let them come," he said. "It will save us the trouble of hunting them down." Later, back on Earth, General Choi Han was briefing the ship commanders who would lead humanity's response. The room was filled with men and women who had trained their entire careers for this moment, though many had hoped it would never come. "Ladies and gentlemen," Choi Han began, "what I'm about to show you is classified at the highest levels. For the past 2 decades, Earth has been preparing for exactly this scenario, a conflict with a superior alien military force that conventional tactics could not defeat. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display showed a human warship. But this wasn't like the graceful vessels that alien species favored. This ship was angular, brutal, covered in weapons that looked designed to cause maximum destruction. This is the Retribution-class destroyer, Troyhan continued. Where alien species focus on energy shields and beam weapons, we've taken a different approach. Raw kinetic force delivered with overwhelming precision. Admiral Song Yi, who would command the first attack fleet, studied the display. General, what kind of firepower are we talking about? Dr. Yun-jae stepped forward. Admiral, our main guns are magnetic accelerator cannons. They fire depleted uranium projectiles at 12% of light speed. A single round carries more kinetic energy than most alien torpedo warheads. And our defensive systems? Point defense networks using rapid-fire railguns. Instead of trying to stop incoming projectiles with energy fields, we simply fill space with so much metal that nothing can get through. Commander Bae-wan, who would lead the fighter squadrons, raised her hand. What about close combat operations? Our fighters carry antimatter warheads, Yun-jae explained. Each one has enough explosive power to vaporize a space station. We've calculated that a single fighter squadron can eliminate an entire enemy fleet if they get close enough. The room fell quiet as the officers absorbed this information. They had known Earth was keeping military secrets, but none of them had imagined anything like this. Sir, Admiral Song Yi said slowly, how long have we been building these weapons? Since first contact, Kim Tae answered from the back of the room. The moment we learned that species like the Krulin existed, we started preparing. We've watched them destroy world after world while the Confederation did nothing. We swore that if they ever came for us or for innocent people under our protection, we would be ready. On the display, new images appeared. Massive orbital platforms bristling with weapons. Underground factories that could produce warships by the dozen. Most terrifying of all, the planet crackers, kinetic bombardment weapons that could literally reshape continents. The galaxy sees us as peaceful explorers and traders, Kim Tae continued. That's exactly what we wanted them to see. But we are not defenseless, and we are not weak. The Krulin Empire is about to learn what happens when you threaten humanity. 3 days later, Admiral Song Yi stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance, watching as the human fleet prepared to depart. Around her, 47 warships hung in space like dark angels of death. They didn't look like the beautiful vessels other species built. They looked exactly like what they were, instruments of war, built for one purpose only. All ships reporting ready, her communications officer reported. Signal from Earth Command, her aide added. Admiral Kim Tae sends his regards and reminds us that the galaxy is watching. Song Yi nodded. Through the main viewport she could see Earth below, blue and peaceful. Somewhere out there, the Krulin Empire was celebrating their latest conquest, probably already planning their next target. They thought they were untouchable. Helm, set course for Krulin territory. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. The fleet vanished in flashes of twisted light, leaving Earth's solar system quiet once again. But across the galaxy, monitoring stations belonging to various species detected the energy signatures of the human departure. The readings were ... unusual ... on the Altarian homeworld. Chancellor Quinn reviewed the intelligence reports with growing concern. The energy signatures from the human fleet didn't match anything in their databases. Whatever weapons the humans were carrying, they were completely unknown. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered his aide. Express our concern about escalating the conflict. Remind them that peaceful negotiation is always preferable to warfare. But his aide was looking at more recent intelligence data. Sir, I don't think they're planning to negotiate. According to our deep space monitors, the human fleet is moving directly toward Krulon space at maximum speed. No diplomatic flags. No communication attempts. They're going straight for the Empire's border worlds. Chancellor Quinn felt a chill. In 5,000 years of galactic civilization, wars were careful affairs. Species would posture, negotiate, make limited strikes at military targets. They didn't simply launch their entire fleet at an enemy's territory without warning. What exactly are the humans planning? He whispered. Light years away, Admiral Song Yi looked at the tactical display showing Krulin positions. Her target was Thaxis Prime, a heavily defended border world that served as the Empire's early warning system. Intelligence suggested it was defended by at least 20 Krulon warships. Admiral, her tactical officer said, will be dropping out of hyperspace in hostile territory, outnumbered at least 2-1. Song Yi smiled grimly. Commander, the Krulin are about to learn something important about human mathematics. Sir? When we fight, the numbers don't matter. What matters is how much destruction we can cause in the first 30 seconds. Behind her, the crew made final preparations for humanity's first real battle among the stars. They had trained for this, prepared for this, dreamed of this moment when they could finally show the galaxy that Earth would not stand by and watch innocents die. The Krulin Empire was about to discover that there were worse things in the universe than their warships and their cruelty. They were about to meet humanity's answer to galactic bullies, and humanity's answer was simple, overwhelming, devastating absolute force. The Krulin Defense Fleet at Thaxis Prime was having a quiet day when the humans arrived. Commander Thokmar was reviewing supply reports when his sensor operator suddenly started shouting, "Sir, multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown configuration." Thokmar rushed to the tactical display. 47 ships had appeared at the edge of the system, moving in a tight formation that no Krulon commander had ever seen before. They looked wrong somehow. Too angular, too dark, like they had been built for no purpose except killing. Identification? He demanded. They're broadcasting Earth registry codes, sir. It's the humans. Thokmar relaxed slightly. Humans were weak, everyone knew that. They had decent technology, but no real military experience. Whatever these ships were, 20 Krulon, warships could handle them easily. Signal the fleet. We'll destroy them quickly and get back to our patrol duties. But on the human flagship Vengeance, Admiral Song Yi was watching her tactical display with cold satisfaction. The Krulin ships were spreading out in a standard defensive formation, exactly like their training manuals said they would. Captain Beiwan, she said into her communicator, launch all fighters. Show them what Earth thinks of murderers. Beiwan was already in her fighter, leading Blue Squadron toward the Krulin fleet. Her small craft was half the size of the enemy. Interceptors, but it carried something no alien had ever seen in battle before, an antimatter torpedo. The Krulin fighters moved to intercept, confident in their superior size and firepower. Commander Thokmar watched the engagement on his screen, expecting to see the human fighters destroyed within minutes. Instead, he watched the impossible happen. Beiwan's torpedo struck the lead Krulin interceptor and simply erased it. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Erased. The antimatter warhead converted the entire fighter into pure energy in a fraction of a second. The explosion was so bright that every ship in the system registered it on their sensors. What was that? Thokmar whispered. His sensor operator was staring at his instruments in disbelief. Sir, the energy reading ... It's impossible. That one torpedo released more power than our main guns. Blue Squadron tore through the Krulin fighter screen like wolves among sheep. Each human fighter carried 6 antimatter torpedoes, and each torpedo was a miniature sun. Within 10 minutes, 30 Krulin interceptors were nothing but expanding clouds of plasma. All fighters, return to formation, Song Yi ordered. It's time to show them our main guns. Commander Osei stood on the bridge of the destroyer Retribution, watching the Krulin battle line through his main viewer. The enemy ships were beautiful in their own way. Smooth curves, glowing energy fields, weapons that pulsed with colorful light. His ship was none of those things. The Retribution looked like a predator made of metal and hate. Range to target? He asked. 200,000 kilometers, sir. Too far. Close to 50,000. His crew exchanged glances. 50,000 kilometers was point-blank range in space combat. Most species fought from distances measured in millions of kilometers using long-range energy weapons and guided missiles. Sir, his tactical officer said carefully, at that range their weapons will ... Their weapons will miss, Osei cut him off. Because they've never fought anything like us before? The Retribution accelerated toward the Krulin line, followed by 6 other destroyers. The alien ships opened fire at maximum range, sending streams of plasma and particle beams across space. But the human ships weren't where the targeting computers expected them to be. Human vessels didn't rely on shields for protection. Instead, they used pure speed and maneuverability, dancing between enemy fire like deadly ballerinas. Their point defense systems filled space with walls of metal, shredding incoming missiles before they could reach their targets. At 50,000 kilometers, the Retribution opened fire. The magnetic accelerator cannon sent a depleted uranium projectile screaming across space at 12% of light speed. The round hit a Krulin cruiser exactly where the ship's reactor should be. The Krulin vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart, torn into pieces by kinetic energy that exceeded anything in the alien ship's design parameters. Chunks of hull, plating, atmosphere, and crew scattered across thousands of kilometers of space. Target destroyed, the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with awe. Next target, Osei ordered calmly. Commander Thokmar watched his fleet die with growing horror. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They didn't try to disable ships or force surrenders. They simply destroyed everything they could reach, methodically and efficiently. Signal retreat, he ordered. All ships withdraw immediately. But it was too late. The human fleet had spread out to surround the Krulin formation. There was nowhere to run. Admiral Song Yi watched the tactical display as her ship systematically eliminated every Krulin vessel in the system. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Admiral, her communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission from the Krulin flagship. They're trying to surrender. Song Yi's face was stone. No surrender, no prisoners. They didn't give Dr. Park Nari's people a chance to surrender. The last Krulin ship died 12 minutes later, vaporized by a spread of antimatter torpedoes. The Thaxis Prime system fell silent except for the expanding debris clouds that had once been a proud fleet. Casualties? Song Yi asked. None, Admiral? Minor damage to 3 ships, but no human losses. Song Yi nodded. The battle had gone exactly as planned. But this was just the beginning. Signal Earth Command. Thaxis Prime is secure. No survivors. Light years away, the message was received by monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The peaceful trading species who had worked alongside humans for decades couldn't believe what they were seeing. Chancellor Quinn of the Altarian Republic stared at the battle reports with growing alarm. They destroyed an entire Krulon fleet. Without taking a single casualty? Yes, sir, his military advisor replied. Our deep space monitors recorded the entire engagement. The human weapons, they're unlike anything we've seen. They don't use energy shields or beam weapons. It's all kinetic force, delivered with impossible precision. And the Krulin survivors? There weren't any, sir. The humans didn't accept surrender. Quinn felt sick. In galactic warfare, surrender was always accepted. Prisoners were taken, negotiations began, ceasefires were arranged. Civilized species didn't simply exterminate their enemies. Send an immediate message to Earth Command, he ordered. Demand that they cease hostilities and enter into peaceful negotiations. But on Earth, Admiral Kim Tae was reading similar messages from a dozen different species. All of them wanted humanity to stop, to negotiate, to be reasonable. He deleted every one of them. Sir, General Choi Han said, the Galactic Confederation is formally requesting that we end our military operations. Tell them we tried it their way, Kim Tae replied. We asked them to stop the Krulin Empire. They refused. Now we handle it ourselves. And if they threaten sanctions? Kim Tae smiled grimly. General, what exactly are they going to sanction us with? We've just proven that our military technology is decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Let them try. Meanwhile, in Krulon space, Warlord Vexstar was receiving his own reports about the destruction at Thaxis Prime. His aide, Grixtel, had gone pale as he read the intelligence data. "Warlord," Grixtel said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider our position regarding the human worlds." "Reconsider?" Vexstar's voice was dangerous. "One of our fleets was destroyed by these primitives, and you want me to show weakness?" "Sir, the weapons they used. Our analysts say they're completely outside known technology parameters. These aren't the humans we thought we knew." Vexstar studied the tactical recordings from Thaxis Prime. The human ships moved wrong, fought wrong, killed wrong. But they were still just humans. "Double the fleet strength at our border worlds," he ordered. "If they want a real war, they'll get one." But deep in space, Admiral Song Yi was already moving toward the next target. Behind her, the human fleet spread out across multiple vectors, preparing to strike at a dozen Krulon worlds simultaneously. The galaxy had ignored one desperate plea for help. Now they were about to learn the consequences of that choice. 3 months after the destruction at Thaxis Prime, the Krulon Empire was learning what it meant to face humanity's full anger. Fleet Admiral Yang Su stood on the bridge of the battleship Absolute Zero, watching as yet another Krulon world burned. Beneath her feet, this was Nexus 7, the Empire's primary military academy, where they trained young Krulon warriors to raid peaceful planets and slaughter innocents. Yang Su felt no guilt as she watched the planet's surface light up with explosions. Colonel Hajin reports the ground assault is proceeding on schedule. Her communications officer announced. On the planet below, Colonel Hajin led his Marines through the burning ruins of what had been the Empire's proudest military installation. His powered armor made him look like a mechanical demon, 7 feet tall and armed with weapons that could punch through tank armor. The Krulon defenders had tried to make a stand in the main training facility. They had lasted exactly 4 minutes. Against human Marines who fought with a cold, methodical fury that terrified their enemies. "Sector 7 clear," Hajin reported into his comm system. "No survivors." His Marines moved through the complex like ghosts of death, their weapons silent, except for the whisper of depleted uranium rounds cutting through Krulon armor. They didn't shout battle cries or show mercy to enemies who begged for their lives. They simply killed everything that moved and kept advancing. "Sir," Sergeant Parkbin called out, "we found their trophy room." Hajin followed the sergeant through a blast door into a chamber that made his stomach turn. The walls were lined with artifacts from destroyed worlds, children's toys, religious symbols, family portraits. In the center of the room sat a display case filled with the bones of sentient beings, arranged like some sick work of art. "Burn it all," Hajin ordered quietly, back in orbit. Yang Su was coordinating the systematic destruction of Krulon military infrastructure across 17 star systems. Her fleet had split into smaller task forces, each one targeting a specific type of installation. Shipyards, training facilities, weapons research stations, all of them were being methodically eliminated. "Admiral," Captain Rudar reported from the heavy cruiser Retribution, "we're in position over the industrial complex on Valthan 4, ready for orbital bombardment." "Proceed with planet crackers," Yang Su ordered. High above Valthan 4. Launch tubes on the Retribution opened to reveal humanity's most terrifying weapon. The tungsten rods were each 10 meters long and massed several tons. But it wasn't their size that made them deadly, it was their speed. The magnetic launchers accelerated the rods to significant fractions of light speed before releasing them toward the planet below. When they struck, each one released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon, but without the radiation. Just pure, devastating kinetic force. The industrial complex that had produced weapons for 1,000 Krulon raids simply ceased to exist. The crater was visible from orbit, a perfect circle of destruction 20 kilometers across. Anything within 50 kilometers of the impact site was flattened. "Target eliminated," Rudar reported. "No readings of industrial activity remaining." Yang Su nodded and moved to the next target on her list. The Krulon Empire had spent centuries building their military infrastructure. Humanity was dismantling it in months on the Krulin homeworld. Warlord Vextar paced his command chamber like a caged animal. The reports coming in from across the Empire painted a picture of systematic destruction that defied belief. "How many fleets have we lost?" he demanded. Grixtal consulted his datapad with shaking hands. 47 battle groups, Warlord. The humans seem to appear everywhere at once. Our commanders can't predict their movements. Because they don't follow any logical pattern, Vextar snarled. They hit military targets, industrial sites, training facilities. They're not trying to conquer territory, they're trying to destroy our ability to make war. Sir, perhaps we should consider opening negotiations. Never. Vextar's fist slammed into the wall, leaving a dent in the metal. The Krulin Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. But even as he spoke, both of them knew the truth. The humans weren't inferior. There was something else entirely, something the galaxy had never seen before. In the Altarian capital, Chancellor Quinn was holding an emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, all of them talking at once about the human military campaign. "They've destroyed 40% of Krulin military assets in just 3 months, shouted Ambassador Zekar from the Draconian hegemony. This level of warfare is unprecedented. More concerning, added Councillor Veltar of the Peaceful Trading Alliance, they're not responding to any diplomatic overtures. We've sent a dozen ceasefire proposals and they've ignored all of them." Chancellor Quinn called for silence. "Has anyone been able to contact Earth directly?" "I have," replied Ambassador Nithara from the Scientific Consortium. "I spoke with Admiral Kimte yesterday. His message was ... Which was, he said, that Earth tried the diplomatic route when Dr. Park Nari called for help. The Confederation chose to let genocide happen rather than inconvenience a member species. Now Earth is handling the problem themselves." The chamber fell quiet. Everyone remembered the initial distress call from Kepler 442b. At the time, it had seemed like a minor incident, easily ignored under non-interference protocols. "What are Earth's terms for ending hostilities?" Quinn asked. "There are no terms," Nithara replied grimly. "They don't want to negotiate with the Krulin Empire. They want to eliminate it." On Earth, Admiral Kimte was indeed planning exactly that. The war room beneath Earth Command now showed detailed models of every remaining Krulin installation. Each one had a red target symbol over it. "Current status report," he ordered. General Choi Han stood at the main display. 70% of Krulin military assets destroyed or captured. Their fleet strength is down to less than 300 active ships scattered across 12 systems. Industrial capacity reduced by 85%. Resistance? Minimal. Most Krulon commanders are afraid to engage our forces directly. They've seen what happens to ships that try to fight us. Kimte studied the tactical situation. The Krulon Empire had been the galaxy's primary military threat for centuries. They had destroyed dozens of peaceful species and enslaved countless worlds. Now they were being systematically dismantled by a species they had considered weak. "Time to end this," he said quietly. "Operation Final Judgment is approved." Across human space, the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled began moving toward Krulin Prime, 500 warships, carrying enough firepower to reduce a planet to rubble. At their head sailed the dreadnought Humanity's Answer, Admiral Kim, Tay's personal flagship. The ship was massive, larger than anything the Krulin had ever built. But its true terror lay not in its size but in its purpose. It had been designed for one specific mission, to demonstrate to the galaxy what happened when you pushed humanity too far. As the fleet approached Krulon space, monitoring stations throughout the galaxy tracked their progress. Every major species had ships watching, waiting to see what humanity would do when they reached the Empire's heart. On the Krulin homeworld, Warlord Vextar received the news with something approaching panic. 500 ships? He whispered. "Where did they come from?" "Unknown, sir," Grixtal replied. "Our intelligence services never detected construction on this scale. It's as if the humans have been building warships in secret for decades." which, of course, was exactly what humanity had been doing. Vextar looked at the tactical display showing his homeworld's defenses. 200 ships, the cream of what remained of the Krullan fleet. Once, he would have considered that force invincible. Now, he wasn't sure it would last an hour against the approaching human armada. "Send word to all remaining Krullan forces," he ordered. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon, all of it comes here, to Krullan Prime. If the humans want to end the Empire, they'll have to go through everything we have left." But in the depths of space, Admiral Kimte was reading intelligence reports about the Krullan's last stand. His response was simple. "Good, let them gather their forces in one place. It will make this easier." Humanity was coming to Krullan Prime, and they were bringing hell with them. The Battle of Krullan Prime lasted exactly 47 minutes. Admiral Kimte stood on the bridge of humanity's answer, watching as the largest space battle in galactic history unfolded on his tactical displays. Around the Krullan homeworld, too, 100 of their finest warships had formed defensive lines that should have been impenetrable. They lasted less than an hour against humanity's fury. "Enemy fleet strength down to 60%, his tactical officer reported. "No damage to our forces," Kimte nodded. The Krullan were fighting bravely, he had to give them that. But bravery meant nothing against weapons that could vaporize entire ships in single hits on the planet below. Warlord Vextar watched his empire die through the observation windows of his palace. Human fighters swept through space like angels of death, their antimatter torpedoes turning proud warships into expanding clouds of plasma. "Sir," Grixtel said quietly, "perhaps we should consider ... no surrender." Vextar snarled. "The Krullan Empire dies with honor, or it doesn't die at." "Oh." But even as he spoke, both of them could see the truth written in fire across the sky. The Krullan Empire was already dead. It had died the moment they decided that murdering innocent farmers was acceptable entertainment. Marine General Park Du led the final assault on Krullan Prime's surface. His dropships descended through atmosphere filled with debris from the space battle above. Carrying 2,000 of Earth's finest soldiers, they landed in the capital city just as the last Krullan ships died in orbit. The streets were filled with panicking civilians, but Park Do's orders were specific: only military targets. Only those who had participated in genocide. "All units, advance to the palace complex," he ordered. "Warlord Vextar is mine." The battle for the palace was brutal but brief. Krullan warriors fought with desperate courage, but human weapons and armor were simply superior. Park Do's Marines moved through the complex like an unstoppable tide. Clearing room after room, they found Vextar in his trophy chamber, surrounded by artifacts from the worlds his empire had destroyed. He was armed with a ceremonial sword and seemed determined to die fighting. "I am Warlord Vextar," he declared. "I will not surrender to inferior beings." Park Du looked around the chamber, taking in the stolen artwork, the religious artifacts, the bones of murdered children displayed like decorations. When he spoke, his voice was cold as space itself. "You're right," he said. "You won't surrender, because we're not accepting any." The fight was over quickly. 6 months later, Ambassador Li Na stood before the Galactic Confederation Council, delivering Earth's final report on the Krullan War. Behind her, a holographic display showed what remained of Krullan space: empty systems, dead worlds, scattered refugees. "The Krullan Empire no longer exists," she stated simply. "Their military has been completely eliminated. Their ability to threaten innocent species has been permanently removed." Chancellor Quinn leaned forward in his seat. "Ambassador Li, the level of destruction your species has caused is unprecedented. Entire star systems have been depopulated." "Only those systems that participated in genocide," Li Na replied. "Krullan colonies that contained only civilians were evacuated and relocated. We are not monsters, Chancellor. We simply refuse to allow monsters to exist." "And what of the future?" asked Ambassador Zekar. "Will Earth continue this policy of preemptive military action?" Li Na smiled, but it was not a warm expression. "The Terran Protection Doctrine is now in effect throughout the galaxy. Any species that commits genocide, any empire that preys on innocent civilians will face the same response as the Krulen Empire. You're threatening the entire galaxy. No, Lena said quietly. We're protecting it. For too long, the Confederation has allowed bullies and murderers to operate freely because stopping them would be inconvenient. Earth will not stand by and watch good people die while bureaucrats debate non-interference protocols. The chamber erupted in angry voices, but Lena continued speaking over the noise. Any species facing extinction or genocide can send one message to Earth, just one. We will respond, we will investigate, and if we find evidence of systematic murder, we will act. This is not a threat, it is a promise. She paused, looking around the chamber at representatives from dozens of species. Some looked angry, others frightened, but many looked relieved. The galaxy is vast, she continued. There is room for all peaceful species to grow and prosper. But there is no room for those who would prey upon the innocent. We have made that choice for you. The Confederation voted to offer Earth a permanent seat on the High Council with full military command authority over peacekeeping operations. The vote was unanimous, not because they all agreed, but because they were all terrified of what would happen if they said no. President Kong Mi accepted the position with conditions. Earth would protect the galaxy, but on their own terms, using their own methods. 1 year after Dr. Park Nari's desperate plea for help, Captain Li Bin stood on the bridge of his new command, the battlecruiser Righteous Fury. He was patrolling the former Krulen border, watching over the refugee settlements where survivors were learning to rebuild their lives without fear. His communication officer looked up from her station. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from the Outer Rim. It's coming from the Zephyrian colonies. Li Bin felt his blood run cold. The Zephyrians were peaceful traders, known for their beautiful artwork and gentle nature. If someone was attacking them, what's the situation? Unknown attackers, sir. The message is similar to Dr. Park's transmission. They're asking for help? Li Bin looked out at the stars, thinking about Park Nari and all the innocent people who had died because the galaxy's peacekeepers had chosen to look away. That would never happen again. Signal Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them we have another situation that requires our attention. Yes, sir. As the Righteous Fury changed course towards Zephyrian space, Li Bin reflected on how much had changed. In 1 year, the galaxy was safer now, but it was also forever aware of what sleeping giant they had awakened. Humanity had always been explorers, traders, diplomats. But when pushed too far, when innocent people were threatened, they became something else entirely. They became the galaxy's conscience, enforced at the barrel of a gun. In Earth Command, Admiral Kim Tae received Li Bin's report and immediately began mobilizing response fleets. The Terran Protection Doctrine was not just words, it was a commitment, written in blood and steel. Sir, General Choi Han asked, do we know who's attacking the Zephyrians? Not yet, Kim Tae replied, but we will. And when we do, they'll learn the same lesson the Krulen learned, which is? Kim Tae looked out at the stars, thinking about Dr. Park Nari and all the other voices crying out for help in the darkness of space. That humanity keeps its promises, he said quietly. All of them. Across the galaxy, peaceful species slept better, knowing that someone was finally watching over them. And predator species looked nervously at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, humanity was watching them back. The message was simple and clear: hurt the innocent, face Earth's wrath. There would be no negotiations, no second chances, no mercy for those who preyed upon the weak. One plea for help had indeed been all it took. And the galaxy would never be the same again.